We had a lot of fun on this episode today. We're talking about the top 3 things we wish our kids would say to us before playing hockey today, which is based off an episode. We did a very popular episode about things we should say to our kids. So I'm going to say it again in the intro in a second, but this is what you can listen to with your kids. All right. We really drop a lot in this one, and we'd love to get your thoughts. So make sure when you see the video or airs, you send us a DM or message us your thoughts. Also, another great time to bring up, it's summertime. Summer reading is pretty important. Our book that Christy and I wrote, When Hockey Stops, has got some big news coming later this year. You can secure a copy now at whenhockeystops.com or hockeywraparound.com, whatever site you prefer. Those have been going out the door. I know a lot of people have gotten them based on what they're hearing here, but it's a book about how young kids can deal with adversity and how to overcome that in the game. Something that every child deals with throughout their hockey career. And we really wrote this book for them to make sure that they understand that if you're injured or something is stopping you from playing or anything is keeping you from playing the game, how to overcome adversity like that, to stay involved in the game, to push forward and use hockey as life lessons to make sure that it's a vehicle for your growth as a human being. So check that out again, whenhockeystops.com, and get your copy of that book, or hockeywraparound.com. We sell it there too. But let's get you into the episode today. We're talking again, the top 3 things we wish our kids would say to us before taking the ice. Here we go. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias, joined as always by my best friends in the world in the podcasting space, Christy Casciano-Burns and Mike Benelli. I just made a lot of people jealous by saying that, but I don't mind. And today's topic, we're revisiting a topic. It's like a redux on a topic. One of our most popular episodes ever was titled 3 Things You Should Say to Your Kid Before They Take the Ice. We're reversing it today and doing 3 things your kid should say to you, or you hope they're going to say to you before they take the ice. So parents are already clamoring. I can see the parents grabbing their kids right now, Christy, saying, get over to the microphone, get over. You're going to listen to this with me, or you're going to watch this with me on YouTube. We have a lot of responses for those of you watching. I'm holding them up. We asked this on our Facebook page. But Christy, I want to throw it to you real quick, because this was actually your idea. I know you wrote an article about this in USA Hockey Magazine. And it was a great question, but a delicate question, because it comes down to things like we want to hear versus things we probably should hear versus the things we actually hear, right? So I want to let you talk about that for a minute.
First, I haven't written it yet. The article that we wrote was based on the podcast that was one of our most popular, is what we want to say to our kids. And let's just review what those top 3 things were. So we're taking you back to August when we had this podcast, and we said, our 3 favorite things to say, our most favorite maxims include, I'm going to love you no matter what. I don't think there's any explanation needed for that. That's pretty basic. Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And number 3, be a great teammate today. So we thought, let's turn the tables and imagine, if you will, what we want our children to say to us. What could that possibly be? And we got some great responses. So let's go to the responses now. What are the parents? And I love this one. I think it's great. And we're going to give Jeff credit for this. Jeff Fode. I trust my teammates are going to play together. I'm prepared. Here's the key, folks. Ready to have fun. I can't wait to play hockey. Don't you wish every kid in the world said that before they went out? No matter what. I'm going to be a great teammate. I want to see great teammates out there. I'm going to have fun. That's what you want. That is so motivating. Bravo, Jeff. Thank you for sharing that one.
Yeah, I agree with you on this, Christy. It's funny when you break these down. And again, I had to do like almost some psychological analysis on myself. And I kind of alluded to this a minute ago, which is, what do I personally want to hear to make me feel good? But more importantly, and for those of the kids listening, this is how parents usually approach it, is, what do we really just want the kids to say so they have a good time? Right. So it's tough to discern those 2 things sometimes, because kids, you have a lot of power in what you can say to the parents. But I think Jeff's right on here. I love the first focus on, trusting the teammates. Now, a lot of this is going to come on the coaching staff and the team in general, and making sure that they're feeling what this young man or young woman is saying, right? I trust my teammates. That is so heartwarming as a parent, right? Knowing, wow, you really do, or you want to be a part of this team and you're having fun. For some parents, yes, my investment is worth it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and your message is resonating, right? So if you can start, I mean, we talk about it all the time, as coaches, when you hear a kid say something like, "Oh, that's just that they're just parroting the parent." Well, in this case, you
Yeah.
want your kid parroting you in a positive way, and I think that, Christy, to your point, if a kid's going to be in the car saying, "Oh, I can't wait to be," have a lot of fun and be a really good teammate, like, okay, well, I guarantee you that that's been instituted into their head and into the way
Right.
they're being spoken to, when they're
Yeah.
going out
Yeah.
too.
Great
Yep.
point. And because before a game, and you guys see it all the time, there's a lot of intensity. There's that level of intensity, and you want that, right?
Hmm.
You don't certainly want to take that away, but you also have to get that balance in there. Like, kids, it's a game. Yes, I want you to be, a warrior out there, but also keep it in perspective. I also want you to realize this is for fun. This is just a time in your life where you want to go out and have the time of your life and make it fun. I think a lot of kids get super wrapped up in just the competitive spirit, which is good, but you also have to pull them back a little bit and say, wait, now let's put this in perspective. This is not going to be the end of your life if you don't win here. There's always going to be another game, and let's just make this a moment, keep it present, and just have fun. And I don't think that message gets conveyed enough to the kids out there, especially the little ones. Yeah,
Something I'm wondering is, and I remember when we did this last episode, these are statements we feel, but we don't always say.
correct.
Right. So it's kind of the mentality of, oh, but I feel that way. Well, that doesn't mean that or the person you're talking to knows. So for the kids
Right.
listening, you're going to hear a lot today, I love you, mom and dad. Right. You may be thinking that, but you might not be saying it. Right. And that brings me to the next one here. Paul said, this is what he would like his child to say. I love you and thank you. But then he goes on, but of course he's a teenager now. So the likelihood is remote. Well, I'm going to throw this back. I would guess that most kids, and Mike, I want you to chime in. You have the teenagers right now. My guess is this. I know my kids love me, all right, but they don't always say it, and I think it's learned behavior. A lot of it comes down to how much do I say it to them, right? Because I think the more I say it to them, the more they say it back to me, and also I try and put myself back into being a young kid, 10, 15, whatever. It was not super top of mind for me to say, I love you to my dad and my mom all the time. I would do it, but it was like I had other things on my mind, right? I was thinking about the game,
Sure.
thinking about my teammates. That's not that I don't love them. But when I saw the pride and the love on their faces when I'd say, hey, I love you, right before I walked in the building, even just like that, hey, I love you. It meant so much to them, right? And now that I'm a dad, I'm on the other end of it. So for the kids listening or parents listening, man, I feel that when my son or daughter says to me, I love you before they walk in the rink, I'm not sure there's a better thing you can say. But Mike, you've got the kid at that age. So is that something that they're capable? Am I being delusional and thinking that a teenager can say that to their parents?
I'm sure there are some children that will say that to their parents.
There you
Um,
go.
I don't. I don't particularly get that, and I'm not gonna throw him under the bus because I know he does love me, and and he knows I love him. So I
That's
mean, like,
important.
we just he knows that, you just want it's so funny when you go into a sporting event or a school concert or any of this kind of stuff, right? Where you're dropping your kid off, and a lot of the other, like, to Chrissy's point, a lot of the other stuff that's going on, kind of clouds that
Mm-hmm.
moment. But, like, I try to tell our guys, like, how lucky we are that we're even here doing this. Like
Right.
I'll joke around a little bit, like, oh, there's some kids that don't get to do any of this. Like, they're working right now at 15 years old. You know what I mean? Like, they're working, like real working. So I think knowing that we're in a place in our society with our kids and the people we speak with and work with, that your kids can look, and I don't know, it's almost like right now I've been doing a lot of reading on, being in the moment, being neutral, not being high, not being low, but just being in that moment. And I think that's where kids could give parents so much clarity, is that they could be like, listen, I'm just in the moment. Hey, thanks for bringing me, thanks for getting me here on time. And I do get that. Like, hey, oh yeah, thanks, Dad. I don't need to hear anymore. Like that's more what I get, right? And I think and I listen to other teenagers, and I think that's a lot more like, yeah, I got it. I know what I'm doing. Like, go enjoy the game. Now, I'm not getting like I love you, but
Well,
but
it
you,
sounds like you are just without them saying it.
yeah, right. And
Yeah.
I don't know how many 14, 15, 16-year-old boys or girls are consciously putting themselves in that situation to say that. But it's
Yeah.
funny how, like, when I coach my kids, like I coach them to be like, when you leave somewhere and somebody did something for you, you must tell them thank you
Right.
and I appreciate you. And wow, thanks for taking the time. Because I know from my point of view, like that's one of my pet peeves is like knowing like all the volunteering I do as a coach and helping, not even only as a coach, and anything I do in town and Lions Club and this club and that, like you never get, very rarely do you get, oh, hey, I really appreciate what you've done.
That's
It's
true.
always the negative. So you try to tell your kids, and maybe the kids that are listening to this and say, hey, what a long way it goes. Just like we tell you to say thank you to your teachers and thank you to your coach, and hey, smile at the bus driver in the morning. You're going to have a better experience when you communicate in a positive way with adults. Then our little hint to the kids on that listening. You say this to mom and dad, it's just going to melt them, and it's going to help you.
Right.
It's going to give them like, oh, wow, that was really nice. And think about that parent now when they walk into a rink after they just heard that, how different their mindset might be.
Oh yeah. And you'll see that carry on in other areas of life. I remember, I was at the gym watching my kids' team, bunch of boys workout. And on the other side was another less disciplined, not as polite bunch of boys playing. And at the end of the session, our boys picked up after themselves, shook the hands of the trainer, said thank you. The other boys left all their equipment on the floor as if somebody else needs to pick up after them. No, thank you. One of them broke a mirror. It was just, I think, what a difference. So you see that translate in other areas of their life. There's one side, that undisciplined, nasty bunch of boys, and then the others who were taught right from the jump, respect, be courteous, pick up after yourself, don't expect other people to do the. You see the difference. It was right there in front of me, one side and the other side.
Christy,
Like,
I'll tell you this
it
too.
translates into other areas of their lives.
One of the words we're talking about here without saying is integrity. And again, for the young people listening, integrity is kind of what you do when no one's looking, like what kind of person you are when no one's looking. And coaches, Mike, you can talk to this too. Coaches, scouts, we look for that. We look for that. And it can absolutely be the deciding factor between two players with equal skill, that if we see one player treating his parents with respect and the other one not, I'm taking the one who teaches to give his respect to his parents. And remember, this is what I always say to young people. It's something you practice, just like the game. Integrity is built through practice by doing it when no one's looking, because when someone is looking, you won't be thinking about it. It's the same thing as a physical skill set. You practice and practice and practice so that when you do it in a game, you're not thinking about it. So to tell your parents, and Mike, you said this, and I'm going to say this, there's a lot of different ways to say I love you without saying those words, but just saying thank you for bringing me today. And that's going to be another common one. Just thank you for taking the time to bring me today. Acknowledging that goes well beyond what you think it does. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it's a core value. And think about how we teach coaches to coach. And we say, hey, you know what you got to do with your players? Ask them what they want. Ask them how they're motivated. Like, it's not, listen, the Bobby Knights and the Mike Benellis from 1980 don't exist anymore. Like, that just doesn't happen anymore. It's not, you're going to do it my way or the highway. You're out if you don't want to do it. Now, again, do some people get away with it and they can do it? No doubt about it. But the most part is we are asking, if we want to educate children and players, any player, actually, any age, right? Find out what motivates them by asking what motivates them. And I think for the kids that are listening to this and the players, we're telling you what your parents want to hear. I can guarantee you there's no mom and dad that is not going to, so if that's a habit, like Lee's talking about, build that into your habits. Like, every day I'm going to remind myself, I'm going to write down in my journal, or I'm going to write down on my little notepad, or I'm going to put a little reminder on my phone that says, oh, if I thank my mother and father today, what a long way that's going to go for when I need something later on. Like,
So true.
That works.
So true.
it just, and it works. It works. It's
We're
so
giving
easy.
you the keys. We're giving you the answer.
We're giving you like, it's just like what I tell the kids. Like, I learned a long time ago. I was a horrible student, right? But my father was like, just sit in the front of the classroom, no matter what. Just sit in front.
It's a guaranteed pass.
Be active. Now it's a little probably harder with the phones and nowadays, but be conscious, be active. Look like, I don't even care if you want to be there. Just look like you want to be there, and you're going to be able to get by on a lot of things that other kids can't. And it's the same thing with your kids, right? Get in the car. Hey, Dad, I just want to say thanks for getting me here on time. Enjoy the game. And that is going to, especially if you're a kid, and you don't have to ask your parents right now in the car, but if you're one of those kids that feels like your parents are overbearing or over involved or under involved or whatever it is, you coach them. Like, all you need to do is say, hey, Dad, enjoy the game today. We can get to this, right? But just say, hey, Dad, enjoy the game today. I just want to really thank you for letting me, giving me the opportunity to do this. What I know we're not asking like for kids to be able to do this like just instinctively. But to Lee's point, it's a learned behavior.
Practice
Teach yourself this. Teach yourself this.
You'll feel it.
We are
That's
now
how you make
sharing
it.
Yeah, I hope every kid listening is taking notes. We are now sharing the secret sauce.
Secrets.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just your. Why do you think coaches approach officials before games? Say, hey, I really appreciate you taking the time today to do the game. You know what that does to an official?
Yeah.
They're like, oh wow, that was cool.
I tell every ref, Mike, I really appreciate you being here today. I know
It's
I
huge.
say it every time.
Wow.
Even in my men's league games, I say that to
Right.
Those are bonus points, man.
Well, here's the thing,
Okay, so-
Christy, I do mean it. I just want to say that I do mean it when I say it to them.
Yeah, no, and
but
again,
it is tactical too.
I know you do.
Well, it's meaningful, but it's also you're lowering, like you're just like, okay, let's just lower the temperature.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's be in the reality world here.
Let's
Hey,
be
thanks.
honest, Mike. You're one of those guys that thanks the ref before the game in 3 minutes and that's not tripping. What are you guys? No, Mike is not like
Well,
that.
I will say, didn't you just hear me appreciate how much you were here? I don't appreciate you being here now at all.
No, you have to fight for your team, though. I mean, you're not going to look the other way.
Mike is
Now,
a very big adult here. Go ahead,
I
Christy. Sorry.
need to bring in Johnson Patrick's comment on the post. This is golden right here. You ready for this? This is what he wants his kid to, and this is, oh man, this kid nailed it. Ready? I'll have fun. I can't control others. I can control my effort and attitude. Yes, that's it. You can't control what others are going to do or say, but you can control your actions and your behavior. Boy, if your kids can learn that lesson right now, they will have success for the rest of their lives.
I'll say this, Christy. I think as you get older, the need to impress others dissipates. The older and older you get. And it's hard. It's hard even as an adult for some people.
Or married.
Yeah. I will say this too. At that age, at the youth age, it is so hard because it's everything, right? It's kind of almost survival of the fittest emotionally. But for the kids listening, Christy's right. Johnson Patrick here did drop some gold. Your ability to not focus on things you can't control, just starting to understand that. You don't have to master it today, but if you can start to understand that when something's bothering you, just to say, hey, what do I control in this situation? Man, you're going to be really far ahead really quick.
Phil Jackson, learn to control the uncontrollables. I don't know if it was him, but it was probably somebody like that, right? But that's imagine a young player at any age understanding that circumstance. Like, you can only control what your effort and your attitude is. You can't control if the ice conditions are good, if the referees are terrible, if your coach is playing you long enough, that your line mates good or bad. You can't control any of those things.
Yeah, Mike, I do lectures on this a lot, and I'll give the extremely abbreviated kind of version of it right now. There are only 3 things you control in your life. That's it. 3 things. It is your effort, your mindset, and what you put in your body. That's food and knowledge. That's it. And you can, if you want to pause the episode and think about it, you are not going to find anything else other than those 3 that you have complete control over. The key here, the crux here, is that most people, I'm not just talking kids, most people spend a majority of their time worrying about things they can't control. All right. And it's hard. It's hard. We phase in and out of those worlds. But for the young kids listening, if you can worry about, I'll give you a perfect example. You guys, I've been, I was asked to help coach both a mite and a squirt game yesterday, summer league, right? And the mites, every 10, what's the score? What's the score? What's the score? What's the score? Hey, Dad, what's the score? And you know what my answer is? And I ad nauseum, doesn't matter what the score is. And I said, I like that you want to win. The score wouldn't matter till the end of the game anyway. I do understand that it's frustrating to some parents and coaches that we don't keep score in might, but the idea is we're trying to teach them to love the game. And if you play to the score at that age, you're gonna hinder this kid's development. That's why we don't do that. But I told my daughter yesterday, you can't control the score. You can control your next shift. And then she went out there and she had a great shift. She scored a goal. She comes back. What's the score?
Of course.
So the point is for us too.
Oh, you really not giving the kids a score.
Well, we have to be repetitive too. I think I said this on an episode before, and Mike Yummer, you laughed at it. I said I remember the moment I realized, keeping in mind that I had only, prior to my kids playing, I had only coached at a higher level, college and pro. And I remember learning that, wow, it's going to take me 27 times teaching them something before they're even going to have a clue. But when I understood that, I got really patient and everything changed for me because I was used to people knowing it right away. But yeah, every shift, don't worry about the score.
Well, let me ask you this. Was there a parent out there who knew the score?
100%. Yeah, 1,000%. People. And actually,
And-
you know what's funny?
And Lee knew this.
By the way, you
I did
killed
not.
it.
No. I know the score for about the first 5 goals, and then I really don't because they come kind of quick and fast in this league. But I guarantee you, someone knew the score. Now, here's what's funny about it. Just closing the story here, because you'll laugh at this. I had an idea at the end of the game who won, but what was funny is both teams went on the ice thinking they won the game, and I'm like, this is fine. this is fine. Yeah, they both thought they won, and I'm like, good, that's a win. All right, let's keep moving on here. That was a great one. I want to shout out. There's 2 here in particular I want to get to before we run out of time. Sharp Shack, who's I actually know this guy. He runs a skate shop out of his house, and he does a lot of replacements. This isn't an ad. I just know the guy. He loves working on hockey equipment so much. He made it a little business for himself. So I love that he messaged here. But these are good too. These 3. I'm prepared. This is what he wants his kid to say to him. I'm prepared. I know my job, and I'm ready to battle. He also says, my kid is 12 years old. It's still about fun, but it's also a turning point to use sports as real life, as a mechanism for real life. Prepared from practice for the game, homework prepares for test in school, and so on. I'm glad he brought this up because we do kind of get sometimes, as this podcast, get a little bit of pushback about, we're always saying it's got to be fun. And I think he makes a good point. It does need to be fun at 12, but now he is using hockey as a vehicle for his son's growth. Right. And again, I'm prepared. I know my job. I'm ready to battle. That sounds like every single Monday morning going to our jobs. Right. I am prepared. I know my job. I'm ready to battle. I think that's cool that he's using that as a mechanism for his son to mature.
Oh yeah. I think, and at age 12, yeah, you want to help them, guide them to developing goals and, say, okay, so we didn't do so great last game. What is your goal? How are you going to improve it? What can you do each shift to make it better? And I think at that age, they start to get a little more serious. And yeah, it's still fun though. I'm not going to, every time my kids stepped on the ice from whatever level they were, all the way up to college, it was still fun because they were doing what they loved. They're so passionate about it. But I think that's a great age where you need to start to get a little more serious, more goal oriented, and and kind of introduce to the kids, okay, now we're a more competitive age. Things are going to be a little tougher out there. More expectations are going to be higher for you. So if you want to get serious about this sport, yeah, you need to start setting some more goals for you each and every game.
And as Mike said, you could be working a real job at 15 if you're not careful. You never know. I was working a job at 15.
Yeah, you should be
working 3 jobs at 15.
You were. Christy's a trailblazer.
You should be doing both. Yeah, exactly. But I think, to that point, it is, when you look at, like, right now we're in the time of year. If you're listening to this, in the next 2, 3, 4 months, you know, everybody's training, like all these people are training, and they're having fun. Like these pro guys and college guys aren't going to training sessions. And they're working hard. I mean, there's zero doubt that they're working hard, but they're having fun. They got to keep it light. You got to keep it where people, you know, that's a great attribute of a good skills coach, is to know they can work the, you know, crap out of somebody, and they can still laugh at the end and have a, you know, and have a sip of water at the end. Like, oh, that was great. That was a really fun time. Or, you know, that was a really great battle, or that was great that you got that, you know, got that out of me today. Like, I just think that's, you know, I think when we see the older level players, the older players at these higher levels, they're there, and they are having fun. I mean, 95% of them. And I think sometimes, you know, if you can get your kids to know that fun and hard work aren't mutually exclusive, like if they're just they're one and the same, and if
the best coaches do that,
if a kid can articulate that, that's a home run for you.
Well, I'll say this too, Mike. There have been several articles recently about, even at the NHL level now, the need to keep the locker room a joyous place, a serious place that we're doing work and we need to compete, but that it has to be fun, right? And again, even if you look at the Stanley Cup final this year, again, we're recording this mid-July of 2023. Even though the Panthers were heavily injured, and you know, the Golden Knights and the Panthers were having fun. They were having fun the whole playoffs. You could see it, right? That's not true 30 years ago. I mean, look, it's the 94 Rangers, right? They had fun, but they didn't like their coach. It was really strict. We're almost at the 30th anniversary of that. Sorry, anybody who's a fan of that team. I'm aging you. All right. Before we get to the last big ones, I do want to shout this out, because we got a lot of this answer. Can we go to Chick-fil-A? Can we go to this one person's at Culver's? Can we go to Wawa? Can we go to this restaurant? After the game was a very common answer. You know what? I actually like hearing that from my kids, because I know they're looking forward to something. You know, it's like the ice cream after the whatever, you know, right? I don't have a problem with that answer. This person, Heath, said some funny ones. I remembered my water bottle. Yeah, I feel you on there.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a top three thing for me, but it's, I remembered my pads. I remembered my stuff today. Heath also said thank you as one of them. This is a curious one. This person, Andy, wrote this. And I actually thought about this one a lot. He said, I'd rather my kid be focused on the game and his teammates, basically saying, rather than saying anything to me. And I thought that was interesting, right? Because it's not wrong, right? I mean, I don't know how old Andy's kid is, but I think personally that there's a little bit of not gratitude, not the right, but graciousness of, you know, hey, this we're doing this together as a family is also important, that I'm here supporting you, and that the kid understands that. You know, it made me think about this too. That, and we said this in the last episode, kids don't realize or don't understand that it's not always the easiest thing for an adult to put themselves in the position of their child. So if your kid's 10 years old, for me to have to think about being 10, it takes a little work, right? Because I'm not 10, right? It takes a little work on my end to try and think about what was it like when I was 10. Now, parents, we can actually do that. It's important to remember your kids cannot be 30, 40, 50 years old. They have no idea. Kids listening, you have no idea what it is to be older. That's not your fault. You don't need to know. You'll get there eventually. But there should be some awareness that as adults, right? And you guys can tell me if you agree or disagree. We have a lot going on too, right? That you might not understand, and that's okay. You don't need to understand. I've never been one of these parents or coaches that wanted to tell a kid about how hard it is to be an adult. I don't think that's fair. I don't think they care, right? And how am I going to expect a 10-year-old to understand what it is to be 40? It's not possible, right? So for the kids listening, I just want you to be aware. That's it. That, you know, your parents, your guardians have things going on too that you might not be aware of. And that's why I think that making the gesture to just at minimum, hey, thanks for bringing me today. I'm just saying that goes a long way. As Christy and I said, the key, we're giving you the key to the kingdom.
Keys to the kingdom. No, and I think it is important for kids to understand the sacrifices that your family makes. And there are a lot of them. Everything from the kind of car you drive to, you know, cut vacations to where you vacation. to, your circle of friends. There are so many things that change when you become a hockey family. And I think it's important for the kids to know that we're making a lot of sacrifices here for you guys to play hockey. And they need to recognize
I
that and
agree.
understand that.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with
It's not a
making
blank
sure your
check.
kids understand that. Yeah, I think that's important. Kids, you need to understand that there's
Yeah.
sacrifices being made for you, whether it's time, money, or maybe a parent's working a lot of jobs so you can play.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't think it's soft to make sure your kid knows that. They might not say it, but they need to know that. Now, Christy, I'm going to go to the last one on my list. I want you to read it, but I want to introduce this person's Kim Wright's comment, which is fantastic. You have it on your sheet there, I think. I want to give perspective for why Kim Wright, who I know personally, is Kim Wright is a trailblazer, a business owner. So she has a full-time job as a business owner. Okay.
Yes, I've got
She
it.
has
Okay.
4
Oh, yeah.
boys that play hockey. And I know that 2 of them at least are goalies right now. So this is a parent who has multiple businesses, has 4 kids playing, right? And as a trailblazer. And Christy, like you are a trailblazer. That's why I wanted you to read the comments.
And God bless you, Kim. I don't know how she finds any balance in her life, but here we go.
I look up to her.
I love my teammate and coach. Yes. Today I'm going to try and love you, Mom. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what more do you need to hear? And that was the key with our kids too, especially not before game, but after the game. If they felt lousy about how they played, my husband always say, "Did you do your best? Did you do your best?" And then they would think about it. Did I do my best? No, I didn't. They were pretty honest. Either, yeah, I tried 100%. Well, that's all you can do. You tried your best. That's all you can do. You didn't try your best. Well, what can you do to improve it? So that would be our analysis after the game. And that's all that needed to be said. But if they go into it saying, I'm going to try my best, God bless them. That's fantastic, Kim. Thanks for sharing that one.
Yeah, I also liked her second one, which was today I'm going to try to blank, right? That she wants her kids to try something different or work on something new every game. I think that's a great one too. But Kim Wright's someone I know, and I know multiple people in her position that have 4+ kids skating. I trust them over myself sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Mike, any thoughts on that one, or from a coaching point of view?
No, I love it. And I mean, obviously, if she actually is getting that from her kids, or if she's wishing that was what they say, I think that's coaching your kids. It's if you can instill those kind of things like, hey, and you can help your kids, right? You can say, hey, what are the 3 things you're going to do today that are going to help you, and then if they can recite, you don't have to tell them what they have to say. You just have to give them the, give them the launch pad to come up with on their own. And I know for a fact that eventually your kids will be like, hey, aren't you going to ask me about the top 3 things I'm going to do today? And then they actually, they go, oh, okay, yeah, like I would like to hear what you're going to do today. Like, so there is coaching, there's coaxing, there's, and you would hopefully you could do the same thing as the kids go to school or they go to a different event. It's obviously hockey is just our vehicle.
Right.
I'll say this too to both of you, and it's always kind of funny as you get older, how you start saying and doing things that your parents told you to do that you were annoyed at, and then you get older and older and older. You're like, oh no, I'm really doing a lot of these things. Some of them good, some of them bad.
I'm turning into my mother.
Right. Well, and again, just to take this mildly serious for a moment, you never know how long your parents are going to be around. And kids, I'll tell you, it's really important you say the things you want to say to them while they're here. Now, to close this out, not to keep it on that note, one of the really popular sayings, I've actually had people come up to me in public based on that other episode we did of things you should say to your kids. And the one that stood out that parents bring up to me, aside from I love you, is I love watching you play. That was apparently a real eye-opener to a lot of our listeners of like, wow, I feel that, but I never say it. Right. So I know a lot of parents now who say it to their kids. So when I sat down, and Christy, this is all your fault, and I thought about what are the 3 things I really do want my kids to say to me before the game, right? Because there's about 6,000 things. I said, okay, I really got to get this down to 3. Then these are my 3. I'm not saying they're for everyone, but these are mine. So the first one was, thanks for supporting me, because I think that encompasses a lot, not just the driving, but everything. So number one is, thanks for supporting me. Number 2, based on what I just said, I love playing hockey. I really want to hear that. All right, if it's true, but I don't want a kid to forcefully say that. Dad, I love playing hockey. My heart gets big just thinking about that right now. And then the last one is I love you. All right, even if it's just the mic, right? The door's open. I'm about to get out. Hey, I love you. Bam. I'm fine with that. That's enough for me, right? Or maybe if you're not into saying I love you, hey, thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mom. Thank you. Bam, right? Kids, this goes, you want that Slurpee after the game? Or whatever it is.
You want to see your dad cry.
Yeah. No, well, hopefully you won't do that. Right? But
no, I'm just saying it's very powerful. You have a very powerful. Way to set the table and to good.
I know. I want to throw it to you, Mike. This is the last point I'm going to make, and I really am going to be quiet. It's all learned behavior. Parents, if you do this for your kids, they will most likely reciprocate it. So if your kid, and I am guilty of this sometimes, if your kid's not saying to you the things you think you want them to say, maybe reverse it. Are you saying the things to them that they need to hear? Right? You just do a little meditation on that. All right. My kids say, I love you, but I also say, I love you 6,472 times to them a day. It's excessive. I'm not going to lie to you. It's too much, but I don't care. All right. They see me saying, thank you. I appreciate you to everyone. All right. And I really do that. Okay. It's excessive. It's excessive. Excuse me. So I just think it's a two-way road here. Kids, you can train your parents if you do this too. All right. It's a cooperative environment of appreciation. All right, Mike, sorry, I cut you off. I apologize.
No. And if you have a teenager, and Chrissy can attest to this, we know you're chemically imbalanced and that you're probably not going to say those things every now and then. That we're not going to get that out of you, but eventually you will say it. But I think again, I think, it's so hard. And I am terrible at this, by the way. And my wife reminds me every day like that this is a adolescent. Like, they're not supposed to know this. Like, they're not supposed to be able to comprehend all these things going on, like, until they're 23 years old or something like that. Like, their brain is not
right
a position to do this unless you mold it. Like, that's our job. Like, you create that. And I think the only thing I would want my son, I think my one wish would be, Dad, my whole playlist today is your favorite songs. That would be the best. If you could do that, if my pregame playlist was all my favorite songs, I would have to listen to the crap that I listen to. I said, you know what? That would make my day.
I've actually had that happen to me.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
yes,
awesome.
My daughter, we had a long hockey trip. She said, Mom, I put together a playlist. I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to listen to the stuff I don't know. She said, they're all your favorite songs. I'm like, oh.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yep. So my guys, listen to this. Caitlin, please clip this part.
Okay, but here's the other thing. Good thing she brought headsets because I sang. Yeah. I'm not a good singer. So she compensated. She had her earplugs in, so she didn't have to listen to me. So that was painful, but what a sacrifice. I love it when our kids sacrifice for us.
That's awesome.
I will say this in closing, that when I was a teenager, I listened to a lot of hard rock and heavy metal. And I had a friend of mine who is about 15 years younger than me yesterday. He's like, oh, that's classic rock. And that really hit me in the chest, because classic rock to me is Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, not the stuff I was listening to. I guess that's antique rock now. Anyway, First off, everybody that commented on the thread, really appreciate you. Really appreciate that you wrote in. As you can see, we get a lot of episode ideas from you. We thank you for that. Mike, Christy, just fantastic episode today. That was really well done. I appreciate both of you. So any final words before I do my close?
You're up, Christy. But thank you, guys.
Yeah, just it was great. Yeah. No, this is a fantastic episode for the kids who are listening, because if you take our advice, I mean, are you kidding me? You're going to be the best kid in the house. You're really golden. Yeah. You're going to be the golden child.
Golden ticket. You have siblings. Outperform your siblings right now by making sure you say how much you love them. You'll get a lot more ice cream.
Yeah, two siblings listening to this now just looked at each other. Mike, you just said World War III. Well, in closing, to Mike and Christy, thanks for supporting me. I love podcasting with you, and I love you both. All right, there we go.
I love you too.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Feel free to comment if you love this. Share this episode with anyone that needs to hear it. Above all, if you can give us that 5-star review wherever you listen, it really helps us out. All episodes available at ourkidsplayhockey.com or wherever podcasts can be heard. You all have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.